Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Stories of Hurting Moms. I'm Cathy Taylor, and I have my friend Teri here with me. Good to have you. Thanks for being here tonight. We're just going to chat with you for a while, for about the next 30 minutes. And before we actually get started and before we hear from Teri, just want to let you know that there'll be a couple of links above the video that you click on. If you haven't been in a Hurting Mom support group yet, go ahead and sign up for one, because we would love to have you. And this is an amazing opportunity for you to find healing in your lives. It's a new year. We're still, this is only, what is this, the 10th? Yep. So we're still at the very beginning of 2019. And I was thinking today, and I asked you when you first got here, I hear a lot of people tell me that they have a word. They have a word for the year. Before a new year, they come up with a word that they're going to focus on throughout the year. And so, hi, Carla. I would like to know, from those of you who are watching out there, do you have a word? Do you have a word for 2019 that you're focusing on? And also, Carla, thanks for telling us you're from New York. Please tell us, where are you watching from? And is this your first time to watch? Is this your first time, or are you a long-time viewer? But Teri, we talked about that for a minute before we came on, and you had a word just popped into your head at that moment. Why don't you tell them what that word is?
She caught me off guard and had me think for a second, and the word blast just came into my mind. And I think what's going to happen is I'm just going to blast into this new year, and I'm going to go where God leads me to go. And I'm going to go at an accelerated pace, I'm assuming.
Yeah, if you're going to blast, kind of shooting into it. Either that, or you're just going to have a blast.
Yeah,
it's going to be a fun year. What was 2018 like for you? Was it a good year, or was it not a good year?
2018, I think for me, was a year of changes. I think I came to some self-realizations about myself. I'm getting older. My family dynamics are changing. So I kind of, as I'm getting older, there's a lot of things that I'm starting to think of now that I never thought of before. And it was kind of a year of change, maybe a year of sadness at the same time, because things are changing and I'm not ready for change. So I have to really take my time, step back a little bit, and think about all these little things. And eventually I'll be on board with everything and I'll be good.
Yeah. Change is hard.
It is.
Isn't it? Change is hard. So many of us struggle with that. I was talking to somebody else today, I forget who it was, but we were talking about this idea of changing and how difficult it can be. And it does seem like the older we get, the harder it is.
Yeah. It's like all of a sudden you think to yourself, well, I'm this old, and you got there in a minute. You didn't even realize that time flew by. Yeah. And things change. I think for sure one of the things I've learned through Hurting Moms is that there's a season for a lot of things in your life, and you have to kind of take those seasons and know that they're a season. Things aren't going to last forever. Yeah. So with God's help and our prayers, we're going to see changes, and God's going to step in. He's going to make those changes positive and lead us in the right direction. So that's probably part of what change is.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It's kind of like when we talk about change, or like you said, different seasons, it's like that roller coaster that we talk about. And in Hurting Moms, we have a whole session where we talk about, in the groups, about the roller coaster of emotions. And the emotions that we focus on in the group are the negative emotions that we have: the anger, anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, all the negative emotions, the painful emotions that we go through. But honestly, a roller coaster, there can be good emotions too, right?
Certainly.
We go through, I go through periods of time when I think, man, everything's going great. I feel so good. I wake up without that churning in my stomach, and then all of a sudden something else happens and I'm right back, plunging down into some kind of a valley. But
yeah, it seems to me like my life, I kind of stay in the nervous part of it, where I'm waiting for something to happen, and I feel like I'm not quite happy. But on those days when something really good happens, I recognize it just like that. It makes my heart happy, makes my whole day. And unfortunately, they don't last forever, but I just seem to be able to recognize them so fast. Yeah. And enjoy the moment, enjoy what you can out of those happy times.
That's absolutely true. I think, again, like we talk about the groups. Every week when I come on here, I try to stress so much the importance of being in a Hurting Moms Breaking Free group, because a lot of women come onto Facebook like this, and there's a lot of healing that happens just by being part of this conversation and seeing and commenting with the other moms. But there's nothing like being in one of the Breaking Free groups, right, where we go through the process. Now, you've gone through a couple of groups, right?
Yeah.
What can you share a little bit of insight or some of what stood out to you the most about that, or where you healed?
Sure. The first group, I was right in the midst of a really horrible time with my son. I didn't know where to go, what I could do. Was there other people like me? I couldn't really talk to my family. I mean, my husband, yes, but my other children didn't understand. And I have friends that we all know that we have kids that can take a left turn somewhere, but you can't always, you don't always want those people in that part of your world, in your life.
Right.
So Hurting Moms was fantastic. The first time I went through it, it would just open my eyes to a lot of things. I'm not alone. The guilt it's not your fault. Anything you did, it's not your fault. And just learning how to cope and be able to open yourself to other people that can help you, because there's tons of people out there. I did make some lifelong friendships in that first group. And my second group, I decided to take a second one. And you actually get something different out of the group the second time, because you've realized some things through the first one. And then the second one comes around and you have a really good understanding of where the group is going, but yet you still take something home, another tool that you can use, to help you get through things. And you meet more people, more friends. And it's a big world out there for us hurting moms. There's a lot of hurting moms out there.
A lot.
And we can all help each other.
Yeah, it's one of the things that surprised me so much. I mean, when I first did this, it was for myself, and it surprised me so much that there were so many of us. And I think, like you said, part of what we find out in the group is, so we're in a safe place with other moms who totally understand what we're going through, and so we feel comfortable sharing openly about a situation that we're maybe ashamed to share anywhere else, or worried about what people are going to say or how they're going to judge us. And honestly, what I've learned is that talking about it, being able to get into a group and talk about it freely without that fear of judgment is like so freeing, so freeing. I always say talking about it takes the power out of it.
Yeah, it does.
Because boy, this thing has power over us before we go
just like when we go through the workbook. There is a workbook now that Cathy developed, and it's awesome because it has all of the curriculum in it for you to follow step by step, and it's in black and white, it's in paper, so that you can go back to the workbook and you can and work through it and remember and recall things that you learned in the group. And like Cathy said, speaking it, saying it is freeing, as well as writing it down and doing things like that. You can release yourself of some of those things and worries and how upset you are.
Yeah, it's thank you for showing that. She brought her whole. She brought all the books.
All the pages.
I didn't tell her to do that. I didn't tell her to bring these books. She came with a big old stack of all the books, and so that book. I told Teri. I said, have you read the autobiography? I'm just going to be honest with y'all. It's hard for me a little bit to talk about it. I don't want to feel like I'm selling something, but what it is it's my story, very real, very raw, very open about my life and kind of some of the things that led up to me becoming a hurting mom, and then writing this and all the things that I learned through the process. And a lot of moms have said they've gotten a lot of encouragement from it. So if you're interested in that book, there is a link above the video. There'll be a link up there where it says autobiography or something like that. You can click on that, and it'll take you to a place where you can get it. Tammy Hutchinson in Tennessee says, where do you find a group? Good question. Tammy, above the video, or when we get off of here, there'll be a link that says groups, and you go there, and there's two different kinds of groups. We have local groups, and there actually is a group or two in Tennessee. I think there's one in Gallatin. I don't know if that's anywhere near you, and I think there's another one in Memphis. But so there are local groups, but there are also online groups, and online groups are amazing. I was not sure about that when we first started doing them, but I've been in several of them, and it's amazing. You'll be in a group with moms from all over the US and Canada, And you've been in local groups, right?
Yes.
You've mainly been in local groups, but it's so fun to be in there with moms from all over the place, and you can see each other, you can hear each other. So click on the link above, and it'll take you to our website, and you'll go to a group page, and you can learn a lot more all about groups there. And so hopefully that'll kind of answer some of your questions about that. I'm trying to see. I'm looking at comments, trying to see. There you go. Yeah, kid tries hard to pin the blame on anybody except themselves.
Right, exactly.
I think we all relate to that,
Yep.
right? Honestly, my daughter and I have a good relationship today, but there are still times when she makes a mistake or does something that I might not think is the smartest, and it's, of course, my fault.
Somebody else's fault.
And she's like 37 years old. So honestly, I don't think that ever ends. Hi, Gwendolyn. Good to see you. And there's Greta watching from British Columbia.
Wow.
Sandy Crawford is in Alaska. And how fun to see all these people on here. I was talking about words for the year. So I haven't thought of a word yet for this year, except for as we were talking. Last year, I had a word. Last year, my word was momentum.
Oh, okay.
And the reason was I still work full-time. In fact, we're in my office at the church right now. I work at a church. And I only have a couple more years until I'm going to retire from the church job. So then I can be doing Hurdy Moms full-time. And my word was momentum, because this job at the church has been such a gift to me. And I've always loved it. I've been working here for almost 17 years.
That's a long time.
And but I feel myself getting tired. And I'm so focused on Hurdy Moms. And I don't want to end poorly. I want to, work and keep my momentum going until the day I retire. So that was my word last year. And I found it really did actually help to have a word. I mean, when I would remember that word. So this year I haven't had one yet, but I was thinking about it today. And as we've announced already, some people know, Hurdy Moms is becoming its own nonprofit organization, and which is a little bit scary because it's kind of like the baby branching out on their own. And so I think the word for me this year is going to be trust, because I need to, every time I start kind of getting freaked out about things or worried, and oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? I just have to remember to trust, because you know what? God has been in this from day one. Mm-hmm. He has provided everybody and everything that we need. And every time I turn around, he's doing something else, and it really isn't about me. So I just need to trust him. And so I think that's going to be my word. The word is going to be trust.
That's a good word.
So what are some of the rest of your words? I haven't seen anybody writing words up there yet. Is anybody have a word? There's one. Rosemary says, my word is don't sweat the small stuff. That's very good. Good for you. And there's Phyllis from Kentucky. Hi, Deb.
Hope. Yeah.
Deb's word is hope. Oh, I love that, Deb. Deb is one of our leaders. She's leading a group right now. There's someone from Manitoba, Canada. And Deb's in Lexington. How do you move on from the hurt of a child from trauma? Takes no responsibility. The only way I know how to move on from anything in this situation is by trusting God. It's that word trust again. That's what brought me out of my kind of funk about about being a hurting mom, and took the focus off myself. I was so kind of such a victim in it, being the broken one. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think one of the ways to get through it is to pray through it. You just pray through it, and God's going to handle it, in his own time. It may not be the time that we like, but you just have to, like they say, let go, let God, and you just pray through it. When I feel really down and I just feel like I really need some help, I just close my eyes and pray, and I just know that God's got it. He's got it, and the ending is going to be a good ending because it's what God's going to call out.
That's great. A big word in the whole Hurdy Moms in the groups that we focus on is surrender. Mm-hmm. Surrendering our kids to God, and that's it. I see Carla says her words are change and faith, and Deronda says peace. I like that word too. Boy, isn't that what we're all seeking?
Use a little of that.
That was that being churned up all the time. That is the worst feeling. And so just being able to find peace and be at peace. And you know what, ladies? I'm speaking from experience, and I think Teri would agree with me. We can find peace even in the midst of the struggle. No matter what our kids are doing, God will give us peace if we take our focus off of our child and put it on him. You think?
You get some quiet time and just focus yourself on yourself.
Yeah.
And don't, just have some quiet moments to yourself and pray. And you're going to find that you can do that more and more and more when you need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to be stuck on the fact that something wrong is going on over here or something, traumatic is going on over here, when you can actually have your own time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's it. We get so focused and so turned in on our child and what they're doing or what they're not doing. And if we can just look beyond that and see what God has for us. I mean, we are our people aside from our kids. We don't have to have that be our identity. So many moms, and for a long time, my identity was that of a hurting mom. I'm a hurting mom. That was my identity. That's all I could think about. That's, the whole thing for me. And learning how to move away from that and recognize the wonderful things that God has for us in our lives is so, so great.
Being a hurting mom, saying, I'm a hurting mom, like you were saying, you recognize yourself as being a hurting mom. I'm okay with that, because being a hurting mom and being with the people around me that are also hurting moms, that helps a lot, rather than, being on your own. I'm okay with being a hurting mom, although I wish I never was, kind of, in a way, I was like, but being a hurting mom is okay with me.
It isn't what we dreamed of.
No,
it wasn't. It isn't what we dreamed of when we held that child for the first time, or when I don't know about you, but all my life, all I wanted to do was be a mom. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I was a little girl, if someone said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a mom.
Yeah.
And I dreamed about that. And I just, so when you have a child and when they're a baby and they grow up, this doesn't even cross your mind. You don't think about these things happening. And so, when it happens, it's a blow.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to somehow take our own lives back, actually.
Yeah. I didn't mean that I enjoy being a hurting mom because I enjoy my son being, on the outside. I meant being a hurting mom by being in the group of hurting moms, being that kind of a hurting mom. I don't enjoy the fact that my son is causing me to be here, but it is what it is. And I'm just glad and fortunate that I have the group that I, got in here.
It is a sisterhood. It is, we talk a lot about the Hurting Moms community, and it is a community. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what I would do without the other moms. And I mean, obviously this is a club that none of us wanted to sign up for, that we didn't dream about and aspire to be part of. But the fact that we have each other, and I hear from so many moms that have never talked about this before. Like, nobody knows. They are suffering in agony, in silence, and alone. And they didn't realize there were so many. I can't tell you how many comments I see where they say, oh my gosh, I had no idea there were so many of us. And not that that's a good thing, but honestly, let's just be real. There's something kind of comforting about that. Mm-hmm. Knowing that we're not alone, knowing that there are others who totally understand what it is that we're experiencing. Mm-hmm. We're not alone in it.
Yeah, and it's like, you don't have to have somebody around the corner or be in a group all the time. I mean, you can just go on the website. Facebook posts, there's a couple of ladies that post these awesome things on Facebook, and just reading what some of them post just gets me through the day.
Yeah.
And they're hurting moms too, and they just, lay it all out there. Their heart is just pouring out, and I think it touches every one of us.
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. Again, it's that whole idea of community. It's that whole idea that we're not alone. I see my husband join. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Marietta. TJ in Montana says God's direction and guidance. And so I'm thinking that's a pretty good thing to focus on for the year, mm-hmm. honestly. Mm-hmm. It doesn't always come naturally. It doesn't always come naturally just to seek God's direction. I mean, I don't know, maybe for some of you it does. For me, I tend to take off in my own time, in my own way. And then sometimes it takes me a little bit to realize, oh no, you know what, this isn't right. I need to seek the Lord in this. So I mean, we all know God's there and we can pray to him for anything, but it was almost like it took me to be in Hurting Moms to know that
I can just kind of go like this with my child and pray, and he's going to relieve me. And I don't know why I didn't think of that on my own. I could pray for my child, but hurting moms just gives you the direction that you need, gives you that next step.
Yeah.
Just definitely gives you that next step.
Yeah. They're I don't know, it's the support, and again, we're in Hurting Moms group, you receive tools that help you to get to a better place, tools that you can use in all your relationships. Carol says, how do I respond to my adult child who was raised in a Christian home and has now decided to live a liberal alternative lifestyle and not believe in God?
Yeah.
That's so hard. That's so hard and so painful. But in all honesty, we can't fix that or change it. I mean, once they become adults, they make their own mind up, and we just have to pray for them. We try to love them. If the child is talking to you and they're part of your life. I have a couple of my kids that are living in ways that I wish they wouldn't live. But they're my kids still. I love them. We have a relationship. They know who I am and what I stand for. But it doesn't mean that I can't have a relationship with them.
Right.
Now if the child decides they don't want to have a relationship with you, that's a different story. And we have a lot of those. I know a lot of you are estranged from your kids, and that's really difficult. I know it is. But I would say, responding to him with love and continuing to pray for him, that's really all you can do.
Yeah. And just keep him close in your heart, and he's your child. And, I have an older son that knows God is there and knows that, his father and I, we're very active in the church, and we have a very strong faith. And a lot of things that we do is based in our faith. And it's one of those things where you can't have a conversation with him about it. He's always got an argument. And it's very frustrating because I just want him to at least have an open heart, open mind, and listen to the things that I can share. And if I can't share it with him to where his ears are going to hear it, then I could easily find somebody that could talk to him and answer his questions. But he just is same thing. He's doesn't believe, doesn't understand, doesn't know. His first question is, where did the dinosaurs come from? I mean, logically, that's what he's asking me. Yeah. Where did the dinosaurs come from? And I'm like, well, I don't think we've covered that, have we? Where the dinosaurs come from? And I'm like, okay.
Well, I don't, I've got a son that's an atheist, or claims to be an atheist, and he grew up in the church and was baptized and part of the youth group and everything. And you know what? I love him so much, and I don't try to. He's going to figure it out. I can't, and he may not. Maybe this is what his life is. It doesn't mean I don't love him. It doesn't mean that I'm losing sleep over him. And I don't try. I saw him at Thanksgiving, and, we were able to talk, and he knows what I do. He knows, all about that. And I can just share my faith, but I don't do it in a way where I'm trying to preach to him, or I'm trying to get him to, think my way.
Yeah, you can never tell them anything. You have to, you definitely have to approach, like my youngest son, who is my prodigal, he never responds to you telling him anything. And I've learned over the years, and he's been a prodigal for 20 years, 15 years, I guess. I've learned how to handle him. I've learned how to talk to him, and he does hear me. And that's the most important part for me, is I know he hears me. I know that I've planted a seed, as small as it might be. I planted the seed, and he knows what I do. Also, he knows about hurting moms. And he supports me in hurting moms. Isn't that crazy?
Because they love you.
I'm here because of him.
What's interesting about that, now that you bring that up, and I know there's a lot of you moms out there, because I've talked to a lot of you, because there are a lot of moms that don't want their kids to know that they're part of hurting moms. Mm-hmm. They're afraid they're going to be mad, or they're, I don't know, that they're going to. And honestly, my response to that, and every situation is different, and I don't know the dynamics of any family or any of these relationships, so I can't really judge that at all. But what I would say is, a lot of times they're not thinking about us when they're doing what they're doing. They're not thinking about how much we're hurting. So are we really going to worry about if it hurts them that we're a part of hurting moms? And so, it's just something to think about. I wanted to respond. Stacia Perry says, talks about praying that someone will put someone in their life to plant a seed. Man, I used to pray
You know how
that
many times
all
I
the
say
time.
that? I'm driving to work in the morning. I'm like, please, Lord, just put someone in their path, that will relate to them. Somebody
Yep.
will open their eyes, and that's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that does that.
No, me either. That has been one of the main prayers, is that God would bring other people into their lives that would point the direction to Him or be able to help them in that. That's so great.
And you know what, moms? I know that, I have a lot of friends that have really good kids that have gone to college and graduated. I have, friends that are engineers, and I have a friend that's 27 years old, and she is a nurse now, and I'm just amazed at, where did you come from? How did you get that? But that's just the way she is. And I just want to say that for us hurting moms, when we're hurting, it seems like we're hurting more so than we are feeling good about things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what makes me really happy is I've learned how to recognize the small things.
Yeah.
The really small little steps that a child has made, or something that that person has said in a day that just, it's to other people that it's just, they take it for granted. But for me, I realized that was huge.
Yeah.
If Andrew says something to me, it's like, that was huge, and it's the small steps, and that could put the smile on my face and make my whole day.
That's something. I see my son is on here, Brian. Hi, Brian. and Brian, and he knows this. We've talked about it. They don't know you, Brian. It's okay if I talk about it, right? Brian's an alcoholic, and he knows it. We talk about it. He's not ready to change that. He knows I love him. He came by the other day, and I just hug him as tight as I can. And I continue to pray for him all the time, and he knows it. And we talked, in fact, I said a few things to him the other day when he came by, and he texted me later and goes, I've been thinking about what you said. And just little things like that, like you said, it makes such a huge difference. And I don't get to see him that often, but I just love him so much. And I know that I can't fix him. And so I'm like that. I pray somebody, that eventually he'll come to the point where he wants to do something about it. But anyway, I'm glad you're watching, Bri. We got lots of people on here talking. So yeah, Tracy says she believes in planting seeds. That is was such a big part of it. There's so many of this. I see somebody on here talking about their son refusing to acknowledge them, not speak to them. And I've said this before, that is one of the things that has really surprised me, because no matter, I still have relationships with my kids, but I can't believe how many moms are hurting because their kids have turned their backs on them. Don't want anything to do with them, have cut them out of their lives, have blocked them on Facebook, blocked them on their phones. And
that's got to be really painful.
Awfully painful, especially when there's grandchildren involved. So a lot of them have, in fact, this one says she has a precious grandson who doesn't even know she exists. And that is the most painful thing. And, I just keep praying that as I look back and as I've been in ministry for a long time and I see the lives that have been restored and redeemed, I never give up hope. Never give up hope, because God is bigger than all of it.
Yep.
And I've seen some pretty miraculous things happen in relationships, but I know that it's super, super painful.
I always tell myself, it may not be good now. My son, my oldest son, my youngest son, and my daughter is in between. The two older siblings refuse to even recognize that my son exists, my youngest son exists, because of the life that he's chosen to live. It doesn't make sense to them, whatever. So they kind of turned their back on him, and I know that's super painful for him.
Yeah.
In fact, I just talked to him today, and he said, well, I just got off the phone with, his older brother, and he said, I ended up hanging up on him. And it's so typical of my older son. He just can't open his heart. You can never turn your back on these kids. It's like, as painful as it is, he's still my son. Yeah. And I've been the one that has been the constant, through all this. Even though he hurts me the most, I've been the constant in his life, and I've learned to, I can't not love him.
Right. I think sometimes too, for the other kids in our family, there's several different factors. One, a lot of times we don't pay very much attention to them because we're so focused on the one that's been hurting us. And so they kind of get, it's like, here I am, Mom, I'm doing good. How come you're not looking at me? But also, I think it hurt. They see how much we're hurting over the one who's hurting
It
us,
aggravates them.
and they feel protective of us.
Yeah.
It hurts them that we're hurting like that. And so there's so many different dynamics in this that it's just. Darlene says that her son is supportive of her leading a Hurting Moms group as well. He's in recovery, and like she said, it's so important for her to stay focused on her own recovery. And that's what it is, moms. We're all in recovery. This is all, no matter what it is that your child's doing, if you're hurting and you want to recover from that, that's what we're trying to do, right? By being in these groups, by being here on Facebook together. We're already at the end of our time tonight. The time goes so fast, and I haven't even had a chance to read all of these comments. But I will tell you, ladies, we'll look at them after we get off. This video stays up, and you can keep commenting. Teri, I hope you'll go look at the comments and answer some of them. And I just want to, again, tell you all how much I care about you, care about your pain, pray for Hurting Moms every single day. And I really, 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 I can't stress enough, I encourage you to get into a Hurting Moms Breaking Free group, because that is where the real healing takes place. That's where you're going to be given the tools that you need to be able to move away from this devastating, debilitating pain that we all have.
And not only is it debilitating, I mean, physically, if you're not happy, your mind and your heart, your soul is not happy, physically, it's going to come back on you, and you're going to be sick, and you don't want to be like that. You want to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You come first right now. You need to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here with me tonight, Teri. I enjoyed having you. Thanks for bringing all those books.
I know. I have them all.
She's got her big stack of books.
Go on the website if you can. Take a look at what's in there.
They're in the store on the website. Thank you, moms, for joining us tonight. I'll be back next Thursday with another guest, and I look forward to this time every week. So I'm going to be happy to see you next week. God bless you.
Yes, God bless you guys.
Have a good week.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.